return of Ben Mackay mean for your defence?
Yeah, fair bit. Particularly last week when his brother got hold of us, it would have been handy to have him. So he's had that unfortunate foot injury, and we've just been really patient. Particularly for any player really, but particularly a tall player, foot injuries are really risky because they're carrying so much weight through there. So we've been really cautious. He was chomping at the bit, wanting to get himself ready to play last week. In a real ironic twist of fate, those two lads, twin brothers, had never played against each other in an AFL game before. So it's extraordinary either Harry's missed or Ben. But it wasn't to be last week. But we're really keen for him to get back in and hopefully stabilise our defence. As we saw last week, those two big guys for Carlton really got hold of us in the second half, and it's probably the difference in the game in the end. For them to kick 10 goals between them and have about 25 marks between them. That was probably the difference in the game.
Brisbane's forwards seem to be firing all cylinders at the moment. How do you combat that?
Yeah, well, I think Ben will help in that space. Danaher and Danaher spent more time in the ruck last week. Rayner went forward for them last week and had a big impact there. He'd been playing mostly back for the games prior to that. So. Listen, that's a strength of the Brisbane side, and we need to combat it. Not only have they got really powerful forwards, tall forwards. Gunston's another one, of course, but they're really, really dangerous at ground level. So that's the potency of their side. Their front end is particularly damaging, and like it was last week, which we did pretty well in the first half. Limit their supply, and they don't have as bigger impact, and that's why Curnow and Mackay didn't have as big an impact in the first half, but in the second half when they got more supply. And so that'll be the key to it. If those big fellas for Brisbane get a lot of supply, then we might be in a bit of trouble. But if they don't, then we'll give ourselves a chance.
Do you have a specific makeup for a specific matchup for Mackay and Griffin, or are they just going to switch? Or
yeah, well, we'll just see how it all unfolds. We don't know how much time Joey Danaher is going to play in the ruck compared to playing forward. Is Rayner going to play forward again, or will he start at half back? Rich comes back into their side more than likely. So there's a whole heap of dynamics that we'll sit and discuss just prior to the game once we learn what their side is and who's in and who's out and who's in and who's out for us. We're yet to absolutely stamp our side because we've still got to train and some strange things can happen obviously a couple of days prior to a game. So we'll work that out all in the next couple of days.
What's your message been to Ben Cunnington during the week?
Well, he's a proud man, and I'd be hoping that he'd want to respond. He was well below his best last week, and he understands that, and that's going to happen. He's been on a pretty significant journey over the last 2 years, and he's trying to find his feet at AFL level again. He's played some good footy for us, and for 2.5 quarters. He wasn't able to have the impact in the game that we would have liked, and we had Huey Greenwood sitting on the bench, and this maybe sounds a little bit peculiar, but by halfway through the third quarter, every coach in the competition is if they've still got their sub available to them, they're looking at that player to say we can bring a fresh man on, who's not playing their role to the level. And last week it was Cunners. I would hope that that's not the case this week, and that he plays a really, really strong game for us, which we need him to do because Brisbane's midfield's one of the strongest in the competition, and when they win. They usually win that midfield battle, and as we see, they absolutely smashed Melbourne in that space. And we know how highly rated everyone regards Melbourne in that space, and Brisbane just torched them in that game where the lights went out in the last quarter. We need to make sure that Cunners and LDU and the other guys in there, Jai Simpkin, Will Phillips, Tom Powell, that we try to match it as best we can with the strong Brisbane midfield.
And what do you think, Alastair, of the principle of the gather round, and also the idea of playing at Mount Barker, which is you're originally from the country, and it's sort of like
Well, from all reports, the ground capacity's gone from 3,000 to 5,000 to 7,000, and now I think it's up somewhere up around 9,000 or 10,000, which they continue to put in more seating there, which is just terrific. I mean, I know what it'll do for that little region out Mount Barker area. It's Todd Viney country. He had a farm out that way some time ago. It's probably on his land that they built this oval, but I think the concept itself of the gather round is great. Adelaide is and South Australia is just such a passionate football state. and it's been really, really well received. I think it's great for the economy down there, and I think there'll be a really, really strong play from the South Australian government and the South Australian people for it to be returned there again next year. And it's not for me to make the decision, but the actual concept itself lends itself to being pushed right around the country, including Northern Territory, Tasmania. There's some great venues around the country that we could continue to expand this concept in the years to come. So we're excited. We play Brisbane, a little bit of a different venue, but as you said, there's something exciting about. There'll only be 9,000 or 10,000 people there, but because they'll be right on the fence and cheering, I think it's going to be a pretty special atmosphere.
And do you think it helps playing a team like Brisbane in a venue like that?
We don't care who we play against. I'm sure Brisbane don't care either. It's just like that's the way the fixture was sorted in terms of you two sides go and play out at Mount Barker, and we'd probably prefer to play at a venue where it feels like there's a really, really strong atmosphere than go to Adelaide Oval and not two really, really strong drawing clubs in Adelaide, in North Melbourne and Brisbane, and you've got 12,000 people at the game. You might have a bigger crowd, but not as great an atmosphere. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what Mount Barker can provide in terms of a real boutique type of atmosphere that hopefully can be expanded upon in the years to come, a little bit like what they've done at Ballarat, and you get that sort of feel down at Launceston and Blundstone Arena in Hobart. So I'm sure it'll be that sort of feel at Mount Barker on Saturday afternoon.
Alastair, just in relation to Tarrant, his return date has been pushed back. Is that in relation to the video or to the respectful behaviour program he's undertaking? Can you explain
I'm not really across it, to be fair. It sounds silly, but my role as the coach of the club is to deal with the players that are in the program, and right at the moment Tarrant's not. And Todd Viney and Jen White have been doing a lot of work in that space for a period of time now, and I'll continue to work with Tarrant on the program that he needs to do outside of the club to allow him to come back into the program, and then my responsibilities actually increase with him because he then becomes part of the football program. So I'm not. It sounds bizarre that I'm not fully across it. I haven't spoken to Taz for a couple of weeks, and we'll get in contact with him over the next couple of days. So it's not like he's been frozen out from the footy club, but by and large, he knows he's got a program to abide by with the club, and Jen Watt and Tarrant Thomas are Jen Watt and Todd Viney are the two that are looking after Tarrant at the present time.
When you saw that video from yesterday or the day before of him in the car, what was your reaction?
It's just well, these are young men making at different stages silly decisions, but Todd and Jen will deal with that with Tarrant in the appropriate way. These are young men that I'm sure with maturity over time. I just look at a guy like Jordan De Goey, who 12 months ago was just couldn't seem to do anything right, but now has grown up, matured. He's playing great footy, and the really important part of it for mine with Jordan, and hopefully it can be for his and Collingwood's place as well as the whole football world. We don't like seeing these things happen. Is that he keeps himself in a really, really stable place, but the realisation from him that he said, the person I was 12 months ago wasn't the person I want to be, and he's made some changes to his life. Full credit to him, and he's been the beneficiary of that. His football club have. I think the wider football world is looking at Jordan De Goey and say, well done. You're a peanut at different stages in the last couple of years, and you fixed yourself up. Good work, and we're hoping that Tarrant can do exactly the same thing.
Are you confident that, are you worried about his future though, or are you confident he can turn around? Because, every weekend we see social media videos of him sitting there doing shots at bars and things like that. It doesn't seem like the message is getting through. Yeah, well, as I said, these are young men, and it's very, very easy for us to just throw darts from the outside. We don't know what's going on in his life. No one does. Needless to say, he's had some challenges in terms of his life away from footy that not one person in this room would want to have to endure. So we need to cut him a bit of slack in terms of what's going on. He's a young man trying to find his way in a very, very difficult environment, and he's making some mistakes along the way. Far too many for what our liking would be, but
is he someone at a stage where he can't be resurrected, or he can't change his behaviours and get back on the right track? I only need to point to Jordan De Goey again and just say 12 months ago, he's in awful trouble in terms of just being able to manage his behaviour away from the footy club, and he's taken check of that, taken stock of it, and I'm sure Taryn can do the same.
Do you think you'll get to a point where you may have to give up on him?
I'd like to think not. I know the character of the lad. He's making some poor choices, but I said there's some things going on in his life that we don't want to reveal here. They're just real challenges for him, and so at some point in time, the club and he are going to need to make a decision, because these types of behaviours can't be ongoing. There needs to be some learning from it, and once he does indicate to us that he's actually fully committed to his footy, then he'll come back into this program. I think the best environment for him is to be within the routine and structure of a football club. These football clubs are institutions in our country. They're a special part of the fabric of the community, and I reckon that's the best place for Taryn to be. And Jen and Todd will make a decision on when that's the appropriate time for him to return to that environment.
We saw him speak to, I think it was Charles Stephen yesterday, saying he's doing everything he can to get back. Does it feel like maybe this week has been a light bulb moment, or the moment where it's clicking about how real it is, how much it's...
I've got no idea, because Todd and Jen are the ones that have been dealing with Taryn, and I haven't spoken to him. So I don't know, but all I do know is that that he's on a program to change some of his behaviours and realise some of the mistakes that he's made along the journey, and some of the unnecessary attention that he's bringing to himself that allows him to be an easy target. So just try to reduce the... we might not be able to dispel it altogether right at this period of time, but just try to reduce the amount of frequency of those things occurring. And he'll allow himself to get back into this program, and then hopefully everyone can wrap his arms and he can get back to doing what he does really well, and that's showcase your talents on the football field, not necessarily at a nightclub or in a car or elsewhere and on social media. Where we're interested and where his greatest expertise is what he can do on that patch of grass out there with the goalposts. And if we can get him back into that environment, then I reckon that needs to be the dangling carrot for him about how productive his life could look if he gets the stability of footy back in his life again.
Alastair, did you expect to be this competitive at round 5 when you took the job on, considering you didn't have much influence over the list you inherited?
All I do know is with this group is they're a really receptive group, and they're trying their best to get better every day when they walk in the building. And we've had some hiccups, but by and large we've been in all 4 games that we've played. A couple of against final 8 sides from last year, and actually Carlton weren't a final 8 side, but in my view should have been. But they sit second on the ladder. They're good opponents, and so. We've been pleased that we've been able to be competitive and be in games. In every one of those games, we're in front against Carlton, got 10 points up or thereabouts early in the third quarter, and then fell away badly. So, but didn't throw in the towel. Kicked the last 4 goals of the game and made it a fight. So that's been pleasing. But we know we've got a lot of work to do. But the players have just been marvellous in terms of their receptiveness to want to get better. Knowing full well that we've got a lot of work to do, but there's they just don't want to sit at 18th on the ladder. They've been there for a couple of years, and they're sick of being less than mediocre. So we've got to get up to beyond mediocre for a start, and then consistently challenge. And we're pleased that in the games thus far we've been able to challenge strongly, but not get across the line in all the games, obviously. But plenty of work to do.
Nick Larky, okay?
I think so. Yeah, he'll train today. He's actually just doing some strides now. So he's just got one of those terrible hip wounds. I think anyone that's played the game has probably caught one at some point in time. It's such an innocuous clash with Wiedering. He looks like he's moving okay there. So he's still got another couple of days. So he might need to go to the line, but we'll we'll give him every chance.
And just quickly, do you speak to Fags in the lead up to this one?
Yeah. I'm not sure what other coaches who have got good mates at other clubs do, but usually the week before and the week after is just the time just to put the phone away and not talk to each other so much. But outside of that, he's a great mate of mine, and same with Hardwick and Beveridge and Simpson and all these guys that have spent time at our club from time to time. They're great mates, but you just put the mateship on hold just for 10 days or 2 weeks.
No wine up in the Adelaide Hills then, not sharing, just a
No,
quiet read?
we'll just steer clear. I'll find something else to have a drink with, perhaps. Yeah.
Sorry, Alastair, just have you received any update from the AFL re the investigation? Obviously, with you and Chris playing each other, is there just a time?
Yeah, no. Well, I think the folks at the AFL world is on gather round, which needs to be a celebration of footy right around the country, really, and particularly in South Australia. But I haven't received anything in terms of what's going on in that space.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Good luck.